Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Arcane Secrets of the Craft. This is episode 7, part 2 of 10 pieces of magical advice for beginners. I don't have any announcements, so we're just going to go right to the bullet points. Okay, number 11. What's the difference between a path and a tradition? When you first start practicing magic, 99% of the time, you're going to be starting to walk your own personal path. What you're personally interested, what are you going to specialize in, what do you want to know, what's important to you, and you're going to work on those things specifically. Now, you can be born directly into a tradition. It's not common, but it does happen. Now, what's the basic difference between a path and tradition? A path is your own personal choice. What's ever important to you and is what you're going to study and what you're going to learn, and you'll start to take pieces of this and that and add together, and you will walk your path, whatever that might be. A tradition is more dogmatic, specific philosophies that will be dictated to you and they'll be expected for you to follow. Example, the Green Witch. Green Witches are very nice people overall. They're almost pacifists, almost. They really adhere to the philosophy of do as you will do harm to none. They do a lot of healing spells or healing rituals, cleansings and blessings and protections, and there's a specific philosophy that should be taught and be expected to follow that you're enjoying. This is just to give you an example of the difference between a path and a tradition. 12. How important is magical correspondence, and can you switch things out? Can you trade things if you don't have something? The answer to that is yes, no, it depends on what you're doing. In low magic, you can do that with a lot of things. You can switch out an herb for a different herb. You can switch out a different stone for a different stone. You can switch out a different color candle for a different color candle that's similar. It may not be perfect, but you can. Is it going to be a cataclysmic to your ritual? Probably not. Will it work exactly the way you want? Unlikely, but you can do it. Do I suggest it? No. Will it work? Usually. That's the general answer. In high magic, you're not going to swap too many tools out if you can prevent it, and in demonology, don't ever switch anything out. Follow the ritual formula as written, because you're usually dealing with powers and forces that are well beyond your understanding and control, and usually that's when you're doing summoning, invoking, or binding. With the exception of demonology, you can switch things out, but it depends on what you're switching. You switch some things for other things, but you can't switch anything for anything. What does that mean? If you're doing a love ritual, you're going to do it probably on a Friday. Associated with love, you would burn some rose petals, burn some red candles, and have a rose quartz. Now, if let's say you're missing one of those, you're missing a rose quartz, which is for love and friendship, you could use a tangerine quartz. It's for invoking feelings of lust instead of love. Is it going to work, the ritual going to work the exact way you want it to? No. But will it work close enough? Yes. So you can switch similar for similar. Now, you can't switch similar for abstract. Okay. 13. How important are the elements and how to implement or use the elements in your rituals? Now, how important are the elements? Well, that depends on you. Are they important to you? That's what matters. If they're not important to you, you're not going to use them very much. Now, to a certain degree, you're going to use the elements in just about anything you do because the 4 elements are in just about everything. But how do you incorporate those into your ritual spell work? Or how do you contact elementals, for example? Well, I'll give you a simple example. If you're trying to contact the element of fire, or you can meditate next to a bonfire. And this is a very passive way of doing it, but you can make it more active by putting a mantra or an incantation, and that can help you attract the elemental spirit or bring that element into your practice. That's just one small example. 14. Do you need to work with deities and ancestors? The simple answer is no, you don't have to. It can help though. Now, when it comes to deities, you're very likely going to choose deities that you have a deep personal connection to, and you want to worship them. You want them to pay attention to you. Assuming you will have a connection to them, the deities probably will have a connection to you. That's how you gain their favor. Such as this deity, and you want to know its history, its mythology, its mythos, what prayers to say, when to say those prayers, what to offer them, what offerings do they want specifically, how to offer them, when to offer them, Things like that. Okay. Ancestor worship. Now, my suggestion for people to do ancestor worship is this. Work within your direct lineage. Now, if your parents died, your grandparents died, your aunts or uncles, by definition, they are your ancestors. They're in your bloodline. You knew their name. You know what they look like. Assumingly, you had some kind of personal relationship with them. Assuming they liked you. These are the spirits that are more likely going to help you because they knew you in life. And they're going to try to look out for you. And then you can do prayers to them and light the correct incenses, and they'll come to you and they'll help guide you through horrible times in your life, or help direct positive energies toward you. Now, if you wanted to work with not deities, I'm sorry. If you want to work with ancestors that are much older, where you're going like 30 or 40 or 50 generations back, you don't know what you're getting. You may not know their name, what they look like. You may not know anything about them. You're going under the assumption that they want to help you because they're in their bloodline. So let's put this in some perspective. If they were a saint in life, they'll be a saint in death. If they were evil in life, they'll be evil in death. Okay, moving on. 15. Why do we use ritual tools in our craft? The simple answer to this question is because it can help focus the mind. It's generally considered or known as the magical mindset. Having these sets of stones and burn these herbs and use these specific magical tools will help bring your will or your desire to fruition. They are just tools. Keep that in mind. Tools are important. Tools can do a lot of good things. You can have a chalice, put your holy water in there, and you walk around the house and do cleansings or blessings. It's a tool. It's meant to help you. It's not meant to be the focus of your ritual. Just keep that in mind. Now, I know people that rely on these tools, and they've become so reliant on it, it's become like a crutch. If I take the tools away from them, they can't work magic anymore because their magic has become completely dependent on these magical tools. That's why they're meant to aid you, not be the focus of it. The focus of magic really comes from what's inside of you, from your belief and your intent. So keep in mind, you don't need these tools. They only meant to help you. I know people go out of their way and get every magical doodad you've ever heard of, and most of the time they're just going to sit on your shelf and collect dust. Most of them are not needed. Now, when it comes to like herbs, you don't need to grow them all yourself. You can just go to a dollar store, look for natural herbs, or a health food store, and you'll have all the herbs you need, and you can get them very cheaply. You don't need to spend a fortune on these tools. 16. What's the best way to fuel your rituals? Okay, there's a lot of different ways to do this. Meditation is the preferred and best choice. There's a lot of different ways of fueling your rituals, but generally meditation is the easiest and the least costly to you personally. There's also blood magic or tantric magic. Which one's more powerful, you ask? That depends on who you talk to. It comes down to opinion. But both are powerful in their own right. So I would get books on meditation or watch videos of meditation from other people and learn how to feel the energy inside of your body, learn how to build it up, learn how to store it inside of you so you can learn how to direct and focus it later. Having a strong understanding of the chakras and different kinds of meditation is your safest and best bet, and especially for a beginner. 17. Should you every day? Well, that depends on what you're doing. If you're doing a lot of gray and black magic, yeah, you might want to do cleansings on a daily basis if you're doing some really dark things, but realistically, you could do a cleansing on yourself once a week or once a month. You don't have to work magic every day, and it depends on what you even consider working in magic. So, I mean, meditation, you can consider that magic. Ritual magic, you do rituals every day. You get up, you brush your teeth, you get dressed, you go do your job. These are rituals inside of themselves. So it kind of depends on how you consider what a ritual is. So that's kind of the simple answer. Do you have to do them every day? No, but it also depends on what you're doing. So if you're doing some dark work, maybe you want to do reversal rituals on somebody you think's targeting you. that might be a good one to do. Or protection rituals, or something to this effect. Generally, I tell anyone who's just starting, stay away from gray and black magic. It's not necessary. You need to learn how to protect yourself before you should try to do anything to anyone else. That's just generally good advice. 18. Do you need to know it all right away? No. No, you do not. Magic is a marathon. It's not a sprint. When people first begin, they want to be a master overnight. Just not realistic. You will have to spend years studying, practicing, and mastering your craft. Whatever that might mean to you. Some people will spend years reading before they ever try their first ritual. Some people will read a ritual out of a book and try it the same day. Both scenarios are common. You are not unique in this regard at all. So keep that in mind. You don't have to know it all today. You're going to spend a lifetime mastering it. I built a library. Most people do, and I suggest you do as well. Have a few books on symbols, few books on herbs, few books on stones, have a few books on divination, have a few books on general magic. You will come across ritual spells as you go along your way, and that's enough. Take it in your own time. That's my advice to you. 19. What's real and what's fake in magic and the occult? Now that's a really interesting question and a really good one to ask yourself. Why? Because if you know nothing and you speak to a novice, they can sound like a master. And you put in half-truths and lies, how do you know what's real? The answer to that is one of three answers. Either one, you're going to read a lot. You're going to amass your own library, and over a couple of years you'll see what everyone can agree on, and that's generally what we can consider true. Your second option, how do you know what's real? If you get a mentor, someone who really knows what they're talking about. A good way of figuring out if someone is going to be a good mentor to you, do they put you in precarious situations? Do they ask you for anything monetary? Do they ask you for favors? Are they trading their knowledge for something? Generally, that's a good person to avoid, in my opinion. But if you're desperate, you'll do whatever you're going to need to do. The last way to know if things are real or fake is through trial and error. You will eventually figure out what works for you and what doesn't work for you. You'll eventually, through this method, which is a trial by fire. Do I recommend it? No. Did I walk that trial fire myself? Yes. And if I could have, I would have preferred to have the library I have now. It would have saved me a lot of headache. Okay, and 20. Going to end on a high note. And this is important. No matter what version of magic you practice, ask why. Ask why for everything. Don't take anything at face value. Take nothing I say at face value. Take nothing anyone who makes these videos on magic on YouTube or Twitch or anywhere. Don't take any of us at face value. Do your own research. Find out if we're telling you the truth. That's really important. Ask why everything. Here, example. Why is rose quartz associated with love? Is it based on the color? Is it based on the day? Is it based on a specific deity? Why is rose quartz specifically associated with love? Ask yourself that question and go find that answer. That answer could spawn another 10 or 20 or 30 questions, but you'll have an answer and you've researched yourself and you know it. That's the best way to really learn magic. To ask questions. Ask the same question to everyone that practices magic you come across. You might get everyone might give you a different answer, but a lot of people are going to give you the same answers or reasonably close to the same answers. And then you can go look those up online or on articles or in books or any way you can. But eventually you'll get real answers. You might get 100 more questions than you started with, but you'll have at least a few concrete answers. Do not ever be ashamed to ask why any of this stuff works. Also, I'd like to add, please remember that this is just advice. The 20 pieces of advice I gave you, they were just what I thought you should know or what I would want to know in the beginning. I don't know any of you. I don't know what you're doing. So you're going to have to take what I'm giving you and apply it to your daily lives. Apply it to your craft as you see fit. So this seems like a good place to end episode 7, part 2 for 10 pieces of magical advice for beginners. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a third installment of this, as I think this is enough. I think I hit all the major points with 2 episodes. If I need to, I'll make another episode, but I don't think I will, and if I will, I don't think I'm going to do it for a while. So you can expect to see something different next week. As always, best of luck with your research, and go in peace.